So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this wellbeing workshop. We know there is a ton of things that you can choose to do this week, and we all have very busy schedules. So, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time out to join us for the next 90 minutes. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ben Jones. I am the Client Success Director at Simply London in the UK, and it is my privilege to be able to host today this wellbeing workshop for all of you. The word well-being and well-being in our industry is not something that will be unfamiliar to you, certainly not over the last couple of days. Historically, we've spent an awful lot of time talking about the well-being of our assignees and the role that we play in making sure that their well-being is okay when they get to their new country, whether you are a service department provider, giving them that first sense of security in a new country, whether you're finding them a home, schools for their children, and anything that goes in between, or simply giving them advice on where the nearest coffee shop or pub is. But the reality is today, what we're here to talk about is not the well-being of the people that we relocate, but the well-being of you, the people that relocate them. There's a very important reason why airlines tell us to put our own oxygen masks on before helping others to fit theirs. Because if we're running out of oxygen ourselves, we're of very little use to anyone else. And if you prefer pubs to planes, then we also cannot pour from an empty cup. So what can you expect from today's workshop? First of all, you can expect a room with absolutely zero judgment. This is a safe space for you to be able to express yourself in any way that you wish. We know this is an emotive subject. We want this session to be as interactive as possible, but I would also like to make it really clear that if you simply want to come here to listen, to observe, and to learn, then you are more than welcome to do that as well. There is very little pressure on you to interact if you don't want to. It's very important that you get out of this session what you want. Aside from that, you can expect to hear from our brilliant panelists that we've assembled from all corners of the world, who will give you their own insights and tips on how to look after your well-being, with the aim primarily of giving you the opportunity to leave the room with more tools for your well-being toolbox than you came in with. So one by one, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, and I'll start with you, Freddie.
Wonderful. I'm Freddie Paxton with Paxton International. I'm actually from Washington, D.C. I apologize for that right now. It is a great city. I love it. But I'm going to talk a little bit about remote workers and how to keep them well during difficult times in some difficult countries, and just really how to make sure that they're getting their job completed, but also keeping a normal family life and not getting overwhelmed.
Thanks, Freddie.
Ria?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Ria. I'm from Formula Group in India. They asked me to say why I'm here, and I was like, that is very existential. So why I'm here is I did my master's in clinical psychology before I transitioned into global mobility. After my master's, I went back to India. I practiced in a hospital for 3 years as a clinical psychologist. I worked with adolescents and young adults from 10 until 18. Wonderful time. 2020, I shifted into global mobility. Actually, with Yora playing a big role, I wrote my MIM fellowship with them about how to apply psychology into global mobility, and I realized what I knew, which was how to help people transition through change, is exactly what you all did. That was my deep dive into global mobility, and now at Formula Group, I head business development, and I support the people development team in building training programs for our consultants. And I'm excited to go through this day with you. Yeah, that's me.
Hi there, my name is Jane Riley. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Absolute Immigration. Many of you may remember me as the bouncing kangaroo at Inspire.
We do.
Ignite. So today I want to share with you, I'm a qualified NLP Master Practitioner, so I will mess with your minds. And I will take you through an awesome process where we will rewire your mind for instant confidence. My background, and of course, well-being is obviously very important to me, and also within the workplace, but also within my family, and ensuring the well-being of my friends and my adult boys is of paramount importance to me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jens Petersen. I work for Vision Point. It's my 8th year now in the global mobility industry. And the reason why I'm here is, like, unlike the other people, I have less of a professional background in mental health, but I was an end consumer, meaning I suffered from mental health issues. And I find that people who look like me, who present themselves like me, while we're usually very vocal and opinionated on a lot of issues, on this particular issue of mental health, we're surprisingly quiet. I don't think that's healthy. I believe Ben can give some statistics as to what that means in real life. And yeah, looking forward to this.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to go and ask you to join the audience. Here's the technical bit. It's the first thing I'm going to ask you to do. If you haven't already, I'd like you to get your phones out. I'm going to do it as well. And scan that QR code, because I will be requiring and relying on your feedback. Let's see if I can do it from here. The room we will be selecting is the yellow one, the wellbeing workshop, if you've got the same screen as me. I'll give you a couple of minutes so we're not rushing. I would like to point out that all of the answers and polls and things like that are all anonymous, so no one's name will appear on stage if you share anything too sensitive. So the first question is, I forgot to press the clicker, that's a good start from me. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your overall well-being? 1 is not in great shape, running on fumes, and 5 being feeling great, on top of the world. I realise we've picked a strange time in the week, perhaps, to answer a question about whether you're running on fumes or not, but specifically about your well-being. I'm going to answer as well. This is a really interesting graph, and I think when we sort of put the questions together, it's you can make an assumption about what answers you're going to get, and it's of no surprise that you can see the order of answers running down. We can try and find out who said they're feeling great and on top of the world and ask them what their secret is at some point. But I think what's really important about a poll like this as well, and you can ask people at any point. I say it's poignant that we've maybe asked it on the Wednesday afternoon of a Euro conference, but you'll be surprised how many times, even during one working week, your number can vary. Even throughout a working day or any day of the week, your number can vary. So I think it's just a really good time just to have a temperature check of the room on how we're all feeling. It feels like the numbers are going down, like people are unvoting. You've changed your answer. Okay, fine. You're welcome to do that as well.
That's how quickly it changes. Happy, not happy.
That's right, yeah. I said week on week. It's actually second by second. You'll just see them going up and down for the next 90 minutes. The second question is this, which I think is a really important one. I think I touched on it yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes. About us needing 8 minutes to feel supported, heard, or understood in a situation. I think there's such a feeling of overwhelm when it comes to our mental health and well-being, like whether we're helping someone else or helping ourselves, it can feel overwhelming in itself to give ourselves the time on to know what to do. And very interestingly, on the back of 8 minutes, in terms of being able to see lack of time is at the top. Guilt is a really important one, but I think guilt is sometimes, I maybe should have expanded on this, where, and I've had this in the past, where it can almost feel selfish to work on yourself. And we work in such a service industry where it's always at the forefront of our mind to be helping other people, saying yes to people and fixing other people's problems. So sometimes we can feel guilty about how we do that. I've put other drop in the chat. I don't know where the chat appears, if anyone's dropped into the chat. That's a technical question. But the very bottom one, not sure what can actually help. Hopefully today you will leave this room with some of those answers. Oh, good, it worked. What one word describes how you're feeling right now? Now we're going to, Jane or someone else in my group, can someone take a picture of this? Because I'd like to compare. I'm going to ask the same question at the end of the session as well. So feel free to take a picture of what we're looking at now. And we'll see how it, yes. You may feel tired and exhausted at the end as well. I can't guarantee that you won't. On fire is the person whose mental health is at a 5. So they're in for a good gala dinner tonight, I think. I think heavy is a really appropriate word. That's something that I can definitely relate to with your mental health. You can feel like it weighs you down as well. What I will say for you as well, in between the speakers' sessions, if you have questions, comments, or feedback, please put your hand up and ask. So we want this to be as interactive as possible, and we will run around the room with microphones for questions. But without any more, welcome Ria to the stage.
Thank you. So quickly, I'm here to do actually the most boring part of this workshop, okay? I'm here to lay the foundation of what well-being is so that we can all use that foundation and build it from there in today's discussions, okay? With that being said, at the outset, let me say, well-being is a massive concept. It's an umbrella term that consists of many things. It consists of psychological and emotional well-being, physical well-being, spiritual well-being, and all of these are important and interconnected. I'm laying the foundation here for what is emotional well-being. And since this is a workshop and they told me I can't just talk at you, I'm going to open this up to the room. How would you define emotional well-being, or how do you understand the word emotional well-being? Take your time. You can use your phones to write this down or talk between yourselves, and then we'll come back to the center. Yeah? Can I get like a thumbs up so I know? Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Done. Let's do that. Thank you. I heard some wonderful things when I walked around. I was also trying to find the number 5. Did not find them yet. Maybe as we go along. So I'm just going to bring this back to the center. Would any of you be brave enough to maybe share what you thought or how you defined well-being for yourself? Anybody? Oh, you've been pointed at by your table, so. Okay. Oh, you're number 5. We need your definition, please.
Hello. So my definition is, well, there's a couple of definitions on it. Obviously, it depends where you live as well. I'm lucky enough to live in
Correct.
Scandinavia,
Yes.
and that is one of the best regions in the world
Yes.
for mental health and well-being there. So you get a lot of support out of the government, you get your parental, discussed that as well. And plus there's a large social security as well in case financially you're not doing
Yes.
that well. So there's a lot of the stuff there that helps in the well-being.
Yeah.
But my definition on it is mostly that the acceptance that you cannot influence everything in your life. Starting accepting, and as long as you can look yourself into the mirror, knowing and being open with yourself that you've tried everything within your own power to change the outcome and it didn't happen, then that acceptance gives you a peace of mind.
Oh, I love that definition. That's amazing. Can we like clap for him? Thank you. I love that. That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. So acceptance, I love that. Anybody else maybe wants to add and have their own? Yeah.
We were talking about feeling safe.
Sorry. Yeah.
We were talking about feeling safe. So what this means is that maybe some things cannot work, but interiorly, if you feel safe, then everything else can, be adjusted, right?
Yeah.
So one of the first moments of when you're not emotionally well
Yes.
is when you start to think things are going wrong, and whatever reason, you're not feeling safe, you're not feeling in your family, in your
Yeah.
work, and this is a very important topic that we've been discussing for some minutes.
Yeah, I like that. So you feel emotionally when you feel safe. I like that. That's interesting. So we have acceptance, we have safety. Is there anybody else that wants to add to that? Yes,
Hi everyone. Mine's more pragmatic.
please.
So we were talking about feeling organised. So let's say you've got 1,000 things to do, because everybody's always got 1,000 things to do. Having 1,000 things to do that aren't organised and planned and in your brain is like a massive bowl of spaghetti that's all intertwined and you don't know what you're doing. You still feel much better once you've got a plan and a list, and then that spaghetti becomes a little bit broken down and it's easier to deal with. So yeah, being organised and planning, and also doing the worst job first.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That
Yeah,
takes
so
courage.
prioritising your day. We were talking about a book, I can't remember who it's by, but it's called Eat the Frog. And it's about addressing the most horrible job first, because once you've achieved that horrible job, which you think is going to be horrible, people are going to shout at you, it's going to be terrible, turns out to be really easy, it took you 3 minutes to do it, but you've been thinking about it for a week.
Yes.
Yeah, you do that, you get it done, you're so happy with yourself, pat yourself on the back, and everything else the rest of the day feels easy.
Oh, I love
yeah,
that. Okay, so for you, it's
organisation.
being organized and getting things done. I like that. Thank you for sharing. Oh, yes. Oh, I thought we'll never have people to share. Now we have too many. Okay. Okay, we have time for one more. Short one. Who has a short one? You're short. Okay, please. Short
I've got a
one.
short one. Hello. Hello. Oh,
Oh. Oh, Ben, can we do
ladies first. All right. Okay. Really, it relates to the spaghetti. On the majority of days, waking up in the morning,
Yes.
having had a good night's sleep, feeling that day is going to be a good day. That's that simple for me.
I love that. That's easy. That's nice. That's amazing. Yes. Okay. I'm going to do just one last one. Yes, quickly.
Thank you. I just would like to point out, go with the flow. Don't
Go.
harden up, and
Oh, I love that.
get even softer and go with the flow, because it's taking less energy.
Yeah.
And this is what I found out lately. So it's even better to just go and see what might happen if there's a solution come up, and if not, step back and save your energy. And that might be better than.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Going with the flow. Okay, so we've got acceptance, we've got organized, we've got going with the flow, we've got safety, and all of these are parts of well-being. What I'm going to do is now I'm just going to give you something a little bit research-backed and a little bit organized for you to take, and then we'll build a session from there, right? So multiple researchers studied emotional well-being and emotional intelligence, okay? Researchers like Daniel Goleman, Salvoy Mayer, and what they realized was well-being consists of 5 core aspects. I'm going to shift here because this is in my eye. 5 core aspects, right? Number 1, awareness. Our ability to recognize and be aware of all emotional states across the context that we are in, right? Number 2, acceptance. Did somebody say acceptance in the crowd? Yeah. Number 2, acceptance. Our ability to accept our emotional states from a place of non-judgment. Sometimes this is the hardest because it means recognizing that emotions are signals and that every emotion has a function, even when they are emotions that we may not necessarily want to feel, right? Number 3, expression, our ability to manage our emotional expression appropriately across contexts. A good example of this is Aristotle once said, it's not about never being angry, but knowing when to be angry, how much to be angry, with who, and in what context. And that is what managing emotional expression is. Number 4 is empathy, our ability to use all this information and allow others around us the space to accept and express their emotions. Empathy, everybody in this room understands. It's as simple as when somebody comes up to me and says they're feeling sad, and I say, do you know what? I felt sad in my life. And in this context, you feel sad, and I understand. Full stop. Nothing beyond that, right? So empathy. And finally, adaptability, our ability to use all this knowledge to build healthy interpersonal relationships, a meaningful, positive life, deal with challenges, and go with the flow, right? All 5 aspects together become a part of our well-being practice. And they exist in us in in varying contexts, in varying, what was I saying? They exist in us across different contexts in varying degrees. That means that our well-being looks different every day, right? Now, with this definition in mind, I'm just going to highlight 3 key takeaways that I want you all to have as we go along this day, right? Number 1, what this definition does is it tells us that well-being is not a static state, right? It is not a binary concept. You are not either well or not well, right? If I'm angry, are we to say that I'm not well? No, it is going to be my ability to recognize why I'm angry, navigate that anger, find the right emotional ways of expressing that anger, and using that to energize myself to build a better life that will determine my emotional well-being, right? So well-being is not a binary state. Number 2, much like the definition of well-being, our brain is also not static, right? It is constantly evolving, adapting, and changing, right? This ability of our brain to learn new neural pathways in response to experiences and learnings is called neuroplasticity. And all the elements in this definition of well-being are neuroplastic, which means that yes, they have a hereditary component, but mostly these are learned behaviors. We learn emotional expression. We learn empathy, which means well-being is in our control. So if we can engage in the right practices, the small things that we do in our daily life to practice well-being, we can actually rewire our brain to expand our emotional well-being capacity. And finally, my last takeaway is number 3. We cannot practice emotional well-being in half its definition, which means that if we want to build a positive life, live a whole life, build positive emotions, we must know and have the tools to deal with the negative emotions and the negative aspects of life. So well-being cannot be practiced in half its definition, right? That is what I would lay as the foundation for this session. With this definition and these key takeaways, I hope this grounds our discussion as we go forward, because now we'll have leaders come on and talk about their journeys with different aspects of this definition of emotional well-being, how they came to accept their well-being states, maybe their negative emotions, and how that put them into action, the tools they use to rewire their mind and build positive states, and how they've applied all of this knowledge in leading teams. So I'm going to hand this over now to Jens to come and share and build it from here.
I'm not going to be half as well spoken, and I'm going to give as an excuse that English is my second language, so I hope you forgive me. As I said, I'm not a medical professional or in any shape, way, or form educated to give you advice, so I'm going to do a bit more talking at you, I'm afraid, but I'm trying to keep it relatively short. About 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with a case of clinical depression. I still remember the day very well because I was very reluctant to make the appointment to begin with, to go. I was late, I was sweating, and as soon as I got there, the doctor gave me 4 or 5 very poignant questions. We had a very short conversation, and he told me what my issue was. And him just being that poignant, that precise, made me absolutely convinced that he knew what he was talking about. I was half expecting to walk out of it without a diagnosis, him telling me that I was fine, which was what I was convinced of, but I wasn't. So I was prescribed some medication. I wasn't a big fan of that, I have to say. Therapy, which I only hated initially. But that was my pathway out of that hole that I had fallen in. And now that hole also had a name. It was depression. And so it took me a year with the help of therapy and medication to dig myself out of that hole. As with every hole, you get a few steps up, you fall down again a bit, you get dirt all over yourself, but you get out eventually. I'm not angry or sad about that 1 year that it took me to get out of there, because that's just what it took. That's what my body, that's what my brain needed. What I am angry about is the year and a half prior to that, before I realized that I needed help. And even having realized that, I was still resisting, because mental health issues were for other people. I was an idiot back then. I thought it was for weaker people. I thought it was for crazy people. But having finally gotten that diagnosis, it was okay for me to accept it, name that hole. Part of the therapeutical process in Germany is first you go to a day clinic. A day clinic can last anywhere from a week to 90 days. It basically gives you a schedule. It gets you out of your house. It gives you little courses to complete. It might be therapeutical. It might just be an art course. You might help prepare the meal for lunch. Just little tasks that occupy your mind, occupy your time, and get you interacting with other people. Depression, in my experience, and I think in everybody's, is a very nasty disease. The first thing it does, it tries to hide itself from you. Then it tries to hide itself from your loved ones. And finally, once it's sapped all your energy, it tries to hide you from all your loved ones. It's very isolating. And all the people who want to help you, who want to call you, you lose all contact with them until you finally reach the point where you have to reach out, which in my case was financial. And then I got towards the path of naming the hole and getting out of the hole. The day clinic isn't for everybody. It's the first step of a therapeutical process. For me, it didn't work. I hated it. But later, individual therapy did help. Weirdly enough, a couple of years later, I was working in the day clinic in the client or patient-facing administrative side of the day clinic. So I managed, or I helped people get their bureaucratic affairs in order to be able to get accepted. I welcomed them, I showed them the place, I was their daily contact whenever they had a question. And like I said, it's not helpful for everybody, but for the people that it did help, it was very gratifying to see their journey, how they changed their expression, how they held themselves, how they acted. And I think I could appreciate that job in ways that my colleagues couldn't, because I had been in that hole. Had management or salary been better at that place, I think I would have stayed there for a long time. But instead, about a year later, I joined the global mobility industry. Part of that career move was me moving to Spain in early 2020, when we had the idea of opening an office in Spain. Of course, 2020 had different ideas, as most of us know, and that idea got scuppered relatively quickly, and I ended up working from home, where I really would have needed Freddie. It worked initially well, but after the better part of a year, I found that I was struggling. I was still getting the work done, but it took more energy. It wasn't as satisfying. I slept poorly, meaning I slept a lot, but it didn't re-energize me really. In a couple of months later, I diagnosed myself that I was in early stages of burnout. I didn't know that at the time. I reached out to our management. I had accumulated a lot of holidays, so I took an 8-week bunch of time off, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I would happily spend the week playing computer games, watching movies, but doing that over 8 weeks, even I realized that that was not a good idea. But I still didn't know what to do with myself. Brains, I find, are sometimes funny, because about 2 weeks in, I woke up from a nap and I remembered a book. The Germans in the audience will probably know of it. There is a very famous, well-known comedian in Germany, one of the few good ones we have. He also had suffered from mental health issues, and he in turn had come across a book, a guide to the Camino de Santiago. In English, I believe you call it the St. James's Way, from southern France to the west part of Spain. He, pretty much like me, didn't have anything else to do, and he said, let's try it. In the same vein, I found myself going online, trying to find out, because I couldn't do the entire way at that point, where I could start, what would I need, what would be the challenges. And a couple of days later, I found myself relatively surprised on a bus to northern Spain, to the city of Logroño, from where I started my Camino as well. Afterwards, I realized I did the perfect thing, the perfect accidental therapy for myself. It was a bit like a day clinic. I had a daily schedule. I got out of the house. There were little goals to complete, one overarching goal to complete, not to get rid of depression as before, but to get to Santiago. Little obstacles along the way, sometimes literal obstacles. And little questions like, where do I sleep tonight? Where do I get safe drinking water? Where can I eat? All of that helped me occupy my mind. The physical exercise helped, of course. And the people I met along the way. And one person that stays to me to this day is I've met a guy who's possibly as opposite to myself as I can imagine. Proud Trump voter, absolutely convinced that Trump won the 2020 election as well. Was a prison guard in New York City. And for a couple of days, we walked together, had dinner, drinks, and we talked. And this guy absolutely blew me away. He had filed for early retirement because his job was making him mentally sick. He figured that out on his own. That drove me nuts. On his last day of work, he gave back his uniform, all his equipment, signed out, said goodbye to his old colleagues, and then he went back and he stole his universal key for handcuffs. There's one point at the Camino de Santiago, it's called Cruz de Ferro, about 240 kilometers before Santiago, where tradition is you take a stone from home, and at that cross, it's a very tall cross, you drop it at the bottom. So there's a very large hill of little stones, and he took his key from America to Spain, walked it all through Spain, dropped it there because for him it symbolized what he hated, what he was going to leave behind, and his goal of living in Spain and working on a fishing boat. To be able to diagnose yourself so efficiently and to wrap it all up in such an amazing gesture, that drove me insane, but I was very impressed. In the end, I think what my takeaway is from the Camino daily clinic experience, and I have to remind myself constantly, is the simple things. Have little goals, as you said, eat the frog first, I love that. Have a long overarching goal. Get out of the house or out of the office, physical exercise, and most importantly, meet other people, even though they appear to be so very different to yourself. That's the best you can do. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jens. when we first, I hope Jens won't mind me saying this, when we first got together to start talking about the session, I said, you know, come with your ideas of what you're going to say and things like that. I said to Jens about what he's going to say, and he said, I'm not sure I've really got anything relevant to bring to the session. And then he told me what he was going to say. I said, no, you definitely have got something relevant to bring to the session. So I would like us just to give him another round of applause. Because it's incredibly brave to be able to stand up and tell that story. So well done, Jens. Thank you very much for sharing that. I would say we have got a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to ask Jens any questions about it, then you're welcome to do so. Because I had one when I was watching it. Jens, I might need to get you a mic, or they'll turn your mic on. I was wondering, you did the, you sort of took the walking during COVID to a complete extreme. You did that walk in a certain state of mind. Now that you feel differently, would you be tempted to do the same walk again and see the impact that it would have on you?
I've tried it twice since, but due to small accidents and issues resulting thereof, I wasn't able to finish it. But I think because it was such a unique situation in 2021, where a lot of establishments were still closed and about to close for the end of season as well, not a lot of people were actually doing the Camino. A lot of countries still had travel restrictions, so it was a relatively solitary experience. Whereas if you look at the graph of people doing the Camino, it increases every year. So I don't think I can replicate that again, and doing it in a more touristy way isn't probably for me.
So it happened at exactly the right time for you,
Yeah.
when you needed it. Very good. Did anyone else have any questions? We've got time for one or two quick ones if you've got one. Otherwise, I will invite Jane Riley onto the stage. Welcome, Jane. Is that you?
That's me.
Okay, good. There's your clicker.
Oh, thank you. Beautiful. I'm going to come up here. Rewire your mind, NLP, for instant confidence. NLP. So with a show of hands, who has heard of NLP, loves NLP, likes NLP? Yes, I would love to know more about NLP. Nice and high. Now, raise your other hand if you would like a little bit more confidence in your life. Nice and high, nice and high. Now go like this, go like this. Now you look like you're on a roller coaster. And life can be a little bit of a roller coaster at times, can't it? But what is NLP anyway? So neuro-linguistic programming. And as I mentioned, I'm very much fascinated by the subject and ended up going down the rabbit hole and spending almost 20 years studying it, and now as a NLP master practitioner. So neuro, all around the mind, the brain, how does the brain work, and how can we understand better and translate what we do each and every day? And linguistics, as the name suggests, so it's what we say. It's often what we don't say, that little voice inside your head, the verbal and the non-verbal. And the programming, this is the bit when you consider that our minds are like a computer program. So when you think about that, the habits, the patterns, those things and those behaviors that we do each and every day, when you think about that, we're consciously and unconsciously putting them into our own brain. So essentially like installing programs into our brain. But the great news is if you consider that we install them, we can also as easily uninstall them. It can happen in a moment. And we'll go through a process and an exercise today. NLP tools can often act as a manual for your mind. So it enables you to look a little bit more closely. And particularly if you have thought patterns or behaviors that don't serve you, you can simply address those and use some of these NLP tools, which we will go through today. I had an example a few years ago where I worked with a very successful CEO. He was brought into the organization. His remit was to drive the business, drive the strategy, build the teams, and drive the revenue, which he did exceptionally well. The one thing that didn't work for him is he was terrified of public speaking, which most people are. Unfortunately, though, that translated because he was terrified and nervous to present to the board. He explained to me that when it was time to speak, he said he would physically feel ill. He would have sweaty palms. He said, and when he spoke, he felt like a fumbling fool. We went through a very simple process, and it only took 15 minutes. And as a consequence of that process, he then went on. He said that his next presentation to the board, he said he felt not only confident, but calm. He said, I felt like I'd done it 100 times before. And this is the power of NLP tools. We talk in NLP about anchors and using triggers. And the reality is that we do it all the time. You've got triggers and anchors in your life in every element. When you consider things like, for those of you who are married, show-offs, you might think back to your wedding day and that wedding song, and it elicits the emotion. You know, you think about that song, you'll hear a song on the radio. I know for me, sometimes when I smell homemade apple pie, it automatically transports me back to my grandmother's kitchen, and it emotes all of these feelings, but it's also the sensation, and I can smell that smell so vividly. Similarly with coffee, music, these are all the power of anchors. We also have anchors. A lot of celebrities and famous people use anchors. A lot of these people have worked with NLP practitioners, and you might think of these as we're speaking that may come to mind. One of them is a very famous tennis player, Serena Williams. You know Serena Williams? Yeah. She has a couple of anchors when she plays, where she very deliberately steps left and she bounces the ball a specific number of times, and as she steps back and she takes her racket, and it's all part of her anchor. You may know, who knows Tony Robbins? Yeah, he's an NLP master. And he uses anchors to elicit emotions and a state of excitement from his audience. So he'll get them dancing and singing. So that's what we're going to do next. No. Oh, come on. Oprah Winfrey, she's another classic. So she's renowned for engaging powerful, controversial interviews. And she uses verbal anchors before each and every interview. And she says that's the power to ensure that she's not only confident, but she's accurate in her recall of information. So as you can see, that these anchors can be really powerful. So guess what? We're going to go through a process. If you don't want to engage, that's entirely up to you, that's fine. But we're going to go through a process, and it's an NLP process. We're going to install your superpower button. Why do I look more excited than everybody else? Who wants to install the superpower button? Hey! All righty then. So I'm going to guide you through the process. It's really straightforward. You can do it with closed eyes, or you can do it with a soft gaze. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, but I would absolutely invite you to engage in the process. I'm going to talk you through the process first, and then we will run through it. So I'm going to show you through it, and then we'll go back and we'll go through the stages. So, here we go. Okay, step one. So you're going to close your eyes, soft gaze, not yet. Open your eyes. We're going to go back to a time where you felt absolutely confident. It could be where you nailed a presentation, or you won a new account, or you looked fabulous on a hot date, or you convinced your teenager to put their phone down. Something where you felt absolutely powerful and confident. Now, if you don't have a moment or a recall to go back to, that's fine. You can just imagine how that might feel. But I would invite you to think about a time where you felt absolutely confident. The next step is you're going to choose your physical trigger. Now, this is entirely up to you. A lot of people will simply use this trigger with your finger and thumb together. I've seen people trigger an anchor on their ear, people who've tapped their phone, I beg your pardon, their watch. So it's entirely up to you as to what you'd like to do. So this is the next step. So give that some thought. And then the next step is we're going to test and strengthen it. But I'm going to talk you through it. Who's excited? Ben's excited. Okay, so here we go. So, take a deep breath in and relax. So you may close your eyes, soft gaze. I want you to now go back to a time where you felt absolutely confident. You're going to go back into that moment as though you were actually there in that moment now. And as you go back to that time, I want you to hear what you heard at that time. See what you saw around you as you felt absolutely confident. Feel the feelings that you felt of being powerful or absolutely confident. And you're going to ramp them up. We're going to press our trigger in a moment, not yet. And as you go back to that moment, that's right. Thinking about that time now, feeling absolutely confident. Imagine a big screen, ramp up the sound, ramp up the color, ramp it up as high, and it's absolutely confident, peak. And now I want you to trigger your anchor for 5 seconds as you're feeling absolutely confident. That's right. That's right. You can now open your eyes. Can anyone smell popcorn? Anyway. Did anybody have, is Helen from AGS here? Oh, you're going to have to tell her she got called out. Did anybody have the bacon this morning for breakfast? Yes. What do you reckon? What did you love about it? That's what she said too, and she could hang on to it and nibble at it. Okay, now the other thing that's really awesome about this process is we've installed your superpower button. Often people will say to me, but how do I know it works? It's like when you book an airline ticket. It's booked, you've got it, it's booked right, so you don't go and book another one. You now have that anchor installed. The best thing you can do is reinforce it. And so the process is you can stack your anchor. So every time you feel absolutely confident or powerful, in that moment, ramp it up again. Increase the emotions, take it to peak state, and then reaffirm your trigger. And then what will happen over time is the more you do this, whenever you need to rely upon that anchor and trigger that feeling of absolute confidence, you can simply do what you did before, and you will find neurologically the emotion and the emotive within, you will elicit that state of absolute confidence. Does that make sense? Okay. And the reality is, in terms of any of these NLP tools, it's like anything else in life. Practice, practice, practice. Go out there and use it. So I'd invite you to use it at your meetings, tough conversations, whatever that might look like. Try it on. The other thing, it was interesting. They say that the number one fear of human beings is public speaking. Don't we hate it? And number two is death. So when you consider that the person delivering the eulogy at the funeral would rather be in the box. It's really concerning, right? So what I would like to do is invite, if somebody who wouldn't ordinarily do this, I would like to invite somebody, if you want to use your newly charged superpower button and come up here. And I brought this cute little koala to give you as a little prize. All the way from Australia, mate. You can come up here, activate your superpower button, introduce yourself, say your name, and tell us your favorite food. Would anybody like to come on up and try it out? Come on up, try it out. Look how easy it is. I mean, seriously. Anybody? 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 You don't have to. Yes! All right. What? Amazing. Absolute confidence. Here we go. Activate your trigger now, and here we go.
Hi everybody, my name is Sophia. I live in Mexico, as you can tell by the accent. I'm originally from the UK. My favorite food is a Mexican dish called chilaquiles, which are really delicious if you haven't tried them. Imagine like Doritos, but they're made of tortilla. And they have like a Mexican sauce on top of them with like a fried egg and avocado. They're super delicious. So that is my favorite dish.
Amazing! Woo! Are you gonna? Well, you're awesome. So I'd like to thank you for your time today. I hope that was useful, and I would absolutely encourage you to use your superpower button because we all need a little bit more confidence.
Thank you, Jane. I'm sad we didn't get to do all the dancing. If we've got time at the end, we are going to do the dancing. So I would now like to welcome up, after that energetic session from Jane, from Washington, D.C., Freddie Paxton.
Great. Am I on? You guys hear me okay? Great. Well, thank you guys for your time today. And I'm pushing the button right now. I am. I'm pushing the button. Do you want to know what my trigger is? You're probably all dying to know, right? When I first met my husband, that moment, it just gets me. And I think I'll have the confidence forever because of that. 30 years, 31 years. So, not funny. Okay, sorry. So keeping healthy and happy. With our organization, our company, Paxton International, is based in Washington, D.C., but we have about 100 people in over 12 different countries. And when COVID hit, we always get back to COVID, we realized we were really good at something. We were really good at remote workers. So when it happened, we made that transition very quickly. We were able to get people up to speed, working, and I think that actually helped a lot of our team members transition into that new phase of their lives, dealing with COVID, but still being able to continue to work and then try to figure out how to make it happen with their families and now being at home. So I think just over time, we really realized it was a positive thing for our company. Now, going to 2025, we keep hearing about the getting back to work, getting back to the office. And as a company, we've really decided that we're sticking with our remote workers. Now, I'm talking a lot about remote work. I can't do it. There's no way. I like driving into the office. I think it might be just my generation. But I like driving to the office. I like getting into the office. I like seeing people. I like seeing the trucks. I am in the moving business. I like smelling the cardboard of the packing material. Sorry, I get a little too deep in there. But I've done it all my life. So for me, it's something that, I feel it. I live it. But for us to be successful as a company, I think as what we have done over time with the different cultures that we've brought into our organization, there's such a value to that. And so we're sticking with the remote work. How many people here in the audience right now are doing remote work still? Most people? How many people are like hybrid? Couple? And how many people have to go back to the office? Okay. How's that going back to the office? Love it? Yeah, it's really something that I think is a personal choice sometimes. So for us at our office, we do allow people to come into the office. We do make space for them. But one of my team leads, she's literally a mile from the office. And she hates to drive. So I said, you don't have to come to work. And it's been fantastic. So just something that we've learned over time that really has, I think, made their work life work better for them, but then also their home life work better for them. And as we've gone through this process, we've kind of learned a couple of things that I think make it even better to help them make those transitions. Let's see. So working from home, it sounds really easy. You get to be at home, you don't have to drive, so I think the environmental impact is a lot less, right? I think it's truly important, but it really isn't as easy as it sounds. Like I said, I love my husband. We've been together 31 years, but I cannot work from home. He asks me to do things. The dogs come up and want to play. I'm like, I'm on a Teams call. I literally can't even do it for a day, but it just doesn't work for me. And then, of course, doing both, the hybrid, I think that's also difficult. I just can't do it. But ultimately, when you are working from home, you really do need to develop a routine, right? How many people said that they needed a plan? I think it was over here, needed a plan. I think that's key. How you plan your day, how you plan your work day, that's probably one of the most important things. So create a schedule and stick to it. Make sure the stuff that's not work, that's scheduled. Make sure you take that time. We have a team member, she used to be our manager in Kabul. And I said she managed our team in Kabul. It was fantastic. We had many women working for our team out of Afghanistan for many years. I still actually have 3 people on the ground there, 3 women working for us. It's very difficult for them to do it, but they want to keep working. But Huma and her husband left, as she's now in London. And so she schedules her day. She wants to take her kids to work. So she gets up earlier. She starts her day in London. She takes her kids to work. She has 2 hours in between to take her children to work. Then she works all day, GMT time, and then she schedules her dinner. So she has it scheduled where she can do her family time, but also do the work time and also meet our schedules. And it's really been successful. And then, of course, you need to dedicate a workspace. Now, in the United States, we do have larger homes, I think, than a lot of places. So a lot of people have an extra office space, they'll have an extra room, a workspace, a basement, and so people do have that ability. My team in Kabul, they can't have the extra screens. They can get in trouble with the Taliban if they have these extra screens. So they have to have a special workplace. But we've tried to help them establish within their compound that they live in a workspace. So they just turn their laptop this way. So they schedule it so this feels like work. Just even that little motion of this being work and this not being work makes all the difference in the world for them. Does anyone else have something that they do with their workspace that makes it better for them?
I actually, when I'm working from home, I get ready for work, drive to get a coffee, come back, put it at my desk and work. Otherwise, I don't feel like I've started the day because I feel like I'm at home.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
I probably just make sure I close the door because if I leave it open, then I'm thinking of home, so that it's my little sanctuary, and I open that outdoor door if I have to. But if it's open, I can never focus.
Absolutely. We have our claims administrator. She's amazing. She's in Trinidad, and she said, because I asked all the team, I said, "What do you guys do? I'm doing this presentation for Eura. What do you guys do? What makes it work for you?" And she's like, "I get up in the morning, I take my shower, I put on my dress, I put on my heels, and I walk to my desk." She puts on her heels every day. She's like, "That makes me know I'm going to work." And she's near the beach, so she's a flip-flop girl, And she's putting on her heels, and she's making that her work experience. So it's really, really important. Give yourself a break. That is so important. And for our company, what we've asked people to do is make sure they take a break every hour. Every hour, take 5 minutes. We have a fantastic team member who's in LA. She's up in the mountains in LA, more towards the desert, and she has a garden. And so she goes out every day and she tends the garden for 5 minutes. She brings her phone with her. She makes sure that she's getting outside. She goes to the garden. She'll pick something. She'll do something. Just gets outside. And she has our highest customer service scores of any team member. Taking that time, taking that break, she can do a better job. It's the little things that really, truly matter every day. And just remind yourselves. I mean, Kit Kat, you can't have too many of those. You can't have, what's Tim Tam? Tim Tam? Anyone else? Anything that they go to? But our Twix. So make sure you give yourself a break. And then, of course, this is just so important. This is in everyday life. Just make sure you get up and move. Our office, we do have a small gym. Make sure that everybody uses it every day if they can. And then at home, you have to remember to do that as well. Walk the dog. get outside. I think also one of the most important things to do, and I think people have said that a couple times, is just breathe. Just take a moment, take a deep breath. That can really have true value. We forget to breathe a lot. And so taking that breath can really readjust your mind and get you back to the place you need to be to get back to work, right? And then communicate and connect with your colleagues frequently. Have the camera on. Drives me crazy if anybody comes on without their camera on. I'm like, come on, we're working here. It's just, I think it's just as a protocol, it's just respectful. Because if you're gonna take the time to, put your camera on, it's just something that we ask our team to do. And I love the Teams calls. Just instead of typing an email, just make a phone call. See that person, talk to that person, engage with that person. And what I've done as a business owner is on Mondays, I meet with all of my team every week, and then Friday every week. So I always have a call that's standing, I schedule it. And then I meet with the entire team Wednesday. We have a corporate team, a government team, and an agent business team. Every Wednesday I call, I'm consistent with that. And then I expect them to do the same thing back. I want you on the call. This is important for us to engage because, your Manila time, your Kabul time, your Baghdad time, your DC time, your LA time. So we all get together, we all communicate, and I think that's one of the key things that you need to do every day to ensure that not only you have that well-being and understanding, but that you're getting your work done. Anyone else do anything else there? I love teams. I'm in love with teams.
I had a manager that would make sure that in our team's meetings, like our weekly meetings, we'd actually have half an hour for business and half an hour was a quiz. And so just say each week a different team member would organise it, and the quiz sometimes would be getting to know you, and you had to put in something about yourself. And we had people globally, yet we felt like we were really close friends, even though we'd never met in person, because we took time out to humanise it. It was always like, get a coffee, get a snack, let's do this together. And since we've kind of not working together anymore, we're still super close, as though we had sat at desks next to each other the whole time. I think it's really important to remember the
Absolutely.
human side.
That's a great idea. Anyone else? Any other ideas to keep the team together? God, it is bright right there. You're right.
Hello there. We have a team meeting like each week online because I have some colleagues which are placed somewhere else. And what we do, we started it actually in Corona times. We have a song of the week. So each week, some other team member has to say what's their favorite song. So we always have a topic. Right now, actually, it's Netflix series, but it used to be song of your life or happiness song. So each time it changes, and it's like the last 10 minutes of the meeting, you go off with a good song. So that helps.
That's awesome. It's great. I'm stealing that. Thank you.
My company has an all-company call every single Thursday, which when I first joined 4 years ago, I thought was just a bit excessive. Once you got out of COVID, I didn't get it at first. But now what I love about this, because the team loves it, is we do the video call where most are in the office, but they still flip on their videos for anybody not. And aside from the business that we discuss and prize, incentive things that we run every Thursday, we then roll a whole bunch of survey results, positive survey results that have come back in. So it's almost like a live, spotlighting from transferring employees who name the individuals, and the whole company gets to then applaud that person. And so you have either virtual clapping or actual clapping. The employees love it. It's instant recognition every single Thursday.
That's fantastic. I love that. And it's so important because it not only helps the individual, but it helps the company culture. You build the culture even though you're all living in different lives in different parts of the world. And so we call it the Paxton Way. And it just amazes me when I hear the team in Manila say the Paxton Way. And then I went to visit the team in Baghdad. We have two teams, one in Baghdad and Erbil. And I went to the offices. And, you know, without any sort of prompting from any of our other past managers, it said the Paxton Way on the side of the wall. And I was like, that is fantastic. I'm sitting there in the red zone in Baghdad, and our team has got the office, and it says the Paxton Way there. How did that translate? And it was through these little actions that really mean a lot, and keep being consistent, and it translates then to how they're delivering service to our customers. And I think that's just a win-win for everybody. So, and that's it.
Who was it that said about putting heels on and going to the office and dresses and stuff like this? When I've struggled when it first went to remote working, where I couldn't work out whether I was working from home or living at work. And I asked someone for some advice on what, who said they found it incredibly easy, those annoying people. And I asked for some advice. And they said, put trousers on. And it was because what traditionally I would do, and at the job I had at the time, it was when we were doing client calls and stuff, it was very smart on the top half, often even a tie on. But I would have myself smart on the top half, and I would have shorts on and bare feet on the bottom. And it was really interesting the difference it can make getting ready for work, regardless where you're going to work. And he said the key is as well, and I'll try and say this in the most appropriate way possible, is to take your trousers off at the end of the day. So to have that feeling where you're at work and you're not. So, as a final exercise, I think we've got some time left, what I wanted to do, and I'm going to ask you to discuss this in your tables, is think about what you've done for your own well-being. When we speak about, I've mentioned it a couple of times this week, how overwhelming it can feel to help yourself and to help other people. When we look at what we can do for ourselves, whether it's something as extreme as Jens taking a pilgrimage across Spain, or something as simple as putting on a pair of trousers during the day to go to work, we would all have done something in the last 12 months that would have impacted or helped our well-being. And what I'd like us to spend the last 5 or 10 minutes doing, discussing amongst yourselves and on your table, what tiny change have you made, what small change or big change have you made in your life in the last 12 months that has helped your well-being? Once you've had time to make those lists and have a look at it, I'm going to ask you all, I'm going to run around the room really quickly with the microphones. I'm going to ask you all to share what you've done so that we can all then go away with all of these tiny little things that we can implement over the next weeks and months of our lives to hopefully impact our own well-being. So on your tables, and we'll come around and encourage you as well, what have you done in the last 12 months that has had a positive impact on your well-being?
So I got myself a puppy a couple of years ago. He's really, really annoying. But it means whether it's sunny or raining or icy or snowing, every day at lunchtime we go for a long walk. And that means no matter how busy my day is, the dog has to be walked. And the minute I get outside, I always start to feel a little bit better.
Brilliant. I love that.
Thank you.
So everyone needs to get a dog. If you haven't got one, get one when you get home. Next hand.
Good afternoon. A little background story. I'm from the Netherlands. I used to live in the Caribbean for 10 years, which I really loved, very relaxed. So I returned back to the Netherlands where everything is stressed and I need to get adjusted a little bit. So I bought the book Let Them. So I mastered the art of letting things go. I work together with Monica here. And my biggest phrase in the office is, I love my job, but what you don't finish today, nobody dies tonight if it didn't finish. So yeah. The art of letting things go.
Yeah, it's very powerful. It's a really good book as well. If anyone hasn't read it, it's a really, really good book.
Good afternoon. Actually, I have been taking a lot of coachings and things like that in order not to get there. Yeah. So I realized in advance when seeing others around me who really burned out, yeah, that it's something that can happen to anyone. And therefore, I really, because I mean, I have quite a lot of friends who are working in coaching and so on. And so I have been just taking this advantage, yeah, and it helps so much to be to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I think that's really good. And acknowledging that you can take care of yourself and to invest the time, I think that's a really good one.
Mine's probably, it's more the last 18 months or so. As my kids have got older, I've been able to prioritise myself a bit more, and I've just started saying yes. not work things, but like, yes to invitations, to friends, like, do you want to go on a ski trip? Yes, I do want to go on a ski trip, and I'm going to make it happen and not make excuses, oh, I can't do that, I can't do this. I can do it, and I always feel so much better. So I've done quite a few trips in the last 18 months with friends, and it's just gives me a boost every single time.
I love it.
My change that I made in the last year was saying no
Yes. Also powerful.
to the ski trips and to all the things on the weekends that I'd been doing every single weekend. And I'd hear somebody talk about what they did on the weekend, that they stayed home and ate popcorn and watched a movie. And I thought, that sounds like heaven, heaven. So I started making more time for that, to just stay at home and have that sanctuary time for myself. And that's really helped a lot in the past year.
I love it.
Yeah. Every no to someone else is a yes to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think if you take that with you, it's
I
really
love
good
that.
thing.
Yeah, very good. Any more for any more? I can't believe we've almost timed this perfectly to 5:30. This is incredible. We're going to do this one again. What is one word, if you can all get your phones back out, if that's okay. Oh yeah, you might need to do the QR thing again. One word that describes how you're feeling right now. I'm going to do it as well. Thirsty.
You can. It's you said it's anonymous, so
I love it. Humbled, not alone, empowered, happy, enlightened, connected, re-energized. If you've got more energy at the end of a Wednesday of a conference than you had before, then that's pretty impressive. Thirsty. I don't know if it does multiples, but there might be more than one thirsty in there. Validated is brilliant. And if you took a picture of the first one, put it next to the last one, and that's just having 90 minutes where we've just had an open discussion about how we feel, giving ourselves permission to feel more confident with Jane, to hear about people's stories, to share our thoughts. So we can have that much impact on the Wednesday at 4 o'clock at Eura and walk out of a room at 5:30 feeling all of that, then I think we've all done pretty well. So I think we all deserve a round of applause. Well done. I'd like to invite our speakers back onto the stage, if I may. Ria, Jane, Jens, Freddie, please come and join me.
I can understand you have to break not to know. I think you speak for us all, so I think this has really made us all feel what we are not to know.
I love that. Whoever did that, yeah, thank you very much. So the only thing left for me to do is to thank the incredible speakers that have put this presentation together. And to thank you for giving up 90 minutes to come and join us today. And just to say that the person that said thirsty now has not got much longer to wait. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done, everyone.